Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Friday chat. Last week, if you remember, we talked about various clues that we can look at to help us on our healthy journey. And I had several props that I used, and I mentioned that during that talk that there was a clue on what today's talk was going to be about. And a couple of you made some attempts to try to figure out what the topic today was going to be, and in honor of the clue discussion last week. And now I'm going to reveal the big clue that I left for you folks last week. I'm wearing my crossword puzzle tie because, again, like we said last week, sometimes I have no clue what is going on. So let's reveal the clue that I left for you folks last week. It's in my pocket. What I have in my pocket, and it's either in my shirt pocket or my pants pocket, is index cards. I always carry index cards with me. And I do that because sometimes I see something that I would like to use in an upcoming presentation, or I want to use it in my president's message, or I want to remember, oh, I got to tell my wife Ann about this, and I'll write things down. Also, it comes in handy to write down what I've consumed in calories throughout the day. Now, you might think, oh, I'll remember this or I'll remember that, and I'm sorry. We may retain a good portion of what's happened throughout the day, but our senses are continually being bombarded. So to think that we're going to remember every little detail of the day is nice, but I use my index cards. And that also too helps to keep track of things, obviously. But what I need to do with these index cards is that when I get home or I'm back from an event, that I get to write them down in a journal. Now, the reason why I got to carrying index cards is because somehow this journal just doesn't fit in my pocket. And it got to the point where people noticed that I was always writing down on colorful index cards, that even members in my chapter would buy me index cards. They'd see them in a store and they'd get me a pack, or I would get them as Christmas gifts. So that's how often I use these index cards for, like I said, a whole host of things, because I like to think that my mind never shuts down and I'm trying to think of everything. So again, this helps because this doesn't fit in there. But the trick is to make sure that at the end of the day that I do transfer my notes from the index card into the journal. And then this gives me books to refer to, like, boy, last year it seemed like I had no problem when I was COPS to stay under goal. And then I lost my status. Where did I go wrong? Where can I go back to find out where it was? Maybe I might remember everything, but I don't. I don't. And as we get more and more bombarded with things, it's getting harder and harder to remember. So I challenge you folks, like, what do you use to help you remember what you consumed for calories throughout the day? Do you wait till dinner time and start figuring out, well, I had this at 8 and how many calories do I have left to consume? Because as much as we try to cut back on calories to lose weight, sometimes if you cut back too much, your body goes into shutdown and you're shortchanging yourself. Like, maybe if you could have had 600 calories, if you had written everything down on an index card or into a journal, and you kind of cut yourself short and you only had 300 calories, you might be way too far below the amount of calories that you needed to consume to keep things going. Our bodies are just like a furnace. We have to give it fuel to operate, and if you starve your body. It can work against your goals of being going to that healthier lifestyle. So it's important to keep track of everything. Helps you with the balance of things, and again, if you wanted to know how many calories you need to consume during the day to either maintain your weight or to lose, you have to figure out how many you're consuming, and you can calculate that out by going to the real life book. So that was kind of like a setup from last week, presenting a clue as I try to string these Friday chats together so that folks can use them as potential programs in their chapter. That's why I've got these on into YouTube. It's a little bit easier because I know not everybody's on Facebook, but apparently a lot more people are on YouTube. So I think that's very very helpful. So that's kind of what I wanted to say to you folks today. A suggestion that I have in closing, that all the leaders out there contact about your members and ask them to speak from their journal, whether you're on a Zoom chat or just a conference call with the phone or individually. Ask them, hey, look back at your journal. What was there a good time, a bad time, and let's talk about that. I think this journal, whatever type you use, will be very helpful to keep things on track as we kind of navigate through these difficult times, and even in the good times, because it's important to know what we're consuming and what we're doing. Also, again, it just occurred to me, I would write down my steps from day to day so I could calculate those. That was before we had our phones to do it for us. I would kind of have a pedometer that I would write down, or I would at least to know how many miles I would walk in a day. So, whether you use the index cards or a journal or a scrap piece of paper or whatever, you need to write things down. Because if you trust your memory, you can try to trick yourself into thinking you had a great day, but maybe you really didn't, and the cards don't lie. So that's all I have for today. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next Friday.